Креативный продюсер Handmade Food, директор по коммуникациям Японика, популярный фуд-блогер, колумнист. Я Сергей Малоземов, автор и ведущий программы «Еда, живая и мертвая» и «Чудо техники» на телеканале НТВ. И мы ожидаем еще, к нам присоединиться, возможно, Виктор Майклсон, глава консилиума.
Виктор Майклсон, who is the head of Convenience Slow Food, Snail, who is supporting the slow food consumption versus fast food. Now I would like to give the floor to Yaroslav, who is the professional doctor, and he's going to give a very good scientific substantiation of our discussion. It is the conference room Simashka on Botkin, by the way. Why am I going to talk about food and diet today? First of all, I lost 12 kilos last year. Secondly, I am in charge of preventive cardiology. I'm reading all scientific publications and bring the message to my patients. In order for you to freshen up, I decided not to talk about science per se, but rather I would like to have a short punch, and I will tell you what you're not supposed to do and what kind of false messages we have around. And I'm apologizing for being emotional, because this is, after all, the message, this topic I feel very close about. So if somebody tells you something about medicines, first of all, you need to understand what kind of product is being sold to you. So you see, I'm not going to promote anything to you and not recommend to you. First of all, very famous misconception is to exclude gluten. Who excludes gluten? Well, very well-versed audience. So why nowadays it is so popular to exclude gluten from your diet? At some point it was found out that there are some people worldwide who had gluten neuropathy, who couldn't be cured with traditional medicine. And once this small group of people excluded gluten, their condition improved drastically. But you need to exclude gluten only if you have a certain failure, and this is something what you can change with biochemical test. Typically, people don't have to exclude gluten. Our diet is the best, and we are talking about Kremlin diets, paleo diets, Malo, Shiva Atkinson diets, all types of diets, and their authors claim that their diets are the best. Today, diet can be very healthy. Basically, Mediterranean diet is the best. It is based on fruit, vegetables, nuts, grains, fish, olive oil, and a decreased amount of red meat. As for the rest, this is all variations, and certainly there is a very dangerous thing. This is individual diet. When some so-called experts tell you that they will help you to select your individual diet, and we see scary things when blood drops are added to some food products and they're dissolved, and they tell you, you see, you definitely have intolerance. And I will share with you a secret. The purpose of all so-called diet specialists is to take your money, and then you will feel like a fool. On one hand, you paid a lot. On the other hand, you are not able to stick to a certain diet. In most cases, the individual diets are good, and on one hand, these diet experts do not cause any harm. And you certainly can find an expert who will take as much money as you can afford, and this is where your compliance will start with. Myth number 2, antioxidants and vitamins work, but only inside the products. Vitamin E, C, beta-carotene, antioxidants that are extracted, this huge amount of food supplements. And you know, this is a disease worldwide. You visit an American, you open a cabinet, and you see a huge number of cans. This does not work. I'm telling you, this will not work. This is done to take your money, and this is it. The large scientific research has proved that polyvitamins and antioxidants actually increase the mortality rate or the incidence of cardiovascular diseases. Why? Antioxidants actually they are expediting the aging of your body, and when you give antioxidant you actually also spur the development of cancer. So don't take these damn food supplements except for vitamin D for senior women who may have a fracture. And then the worst is low carb, high fat diet. This is the worst thing you can come up with. This diet, low carb, high fat diet, and if you decrease drastically the number of carbohydrate, that will result in quicker loss of body mass. However, potentially it can pose a threat to the body because it has a high number of fats, and this is what is happening to the immune cells. And you see the fat goes inside the endothelium into our vessels, and they accumulate there, and this can spur atherosclerosis. Well, maybe for healthy people it's all right. However, we in Russia have a large number of people who have blood clots, platelets, and this may be very dangerous for them because this increases the risk of mortality from this disease. So I recommend that you do not stick to this diet. And finally, what should we do? Everything is very boring and simple. You need to move much as you can. The more you move, the lower the risk. Today, even patients with very severe heart conditions can afford motion. The more you move, the better. Of course, exclude the professional sports and eat less, especially when it comes to red meat, animal fat, and eat as little as you can. Because now we are trying to prove the rationale, and we can say that the increase of calories certainly may have a detrimental impact on your health. Thank you very much. We would like to thank our emotional speaker, Yaroslav. I will say a few words before I pass the floor to Elena. I agree pretty much about everything what you have said, because there is a scientific basis. But, you know, I do take vitamin D, although I'm not a senior woman with a higher risk of fractures, of bone fractures. And by the way, I made a comprehensive blood test, and it turned out that if you add vitamin D, this is enough and nothing else. This is enough. However, my colleague that passed the same test and who does not take vitamin D, he experienced the deficit of vitamin D. As for the vitamin D, if you take low dosages, there will be no harm. However, we have seen several patients this year who had the blockage of the uterine function, and they experienced the renal insufficiency because somebody recommended them to take high dosages of vitamin D. Vitamin D is the area where science is changing very rapidly. There are many publications about advantages and disadvantages of vitamin D. As we don't see any harm, as for the benefit, here we feel more conservative. Maybe in 1 year time there will be new publications, and we will see that it will be beneficial for a larger group, our targeted audience. Well, I hope I will be among them. Last year, I started a program about food at NTV channel, and I interviewed a lot of foods and diet scientists worldwide, and For myself, by asking the question, what do I need to do, I have come up with 5 core principles of healthy diet. So this is how they look for me. So the first point is fewer calories, because the thing is that all of us overeat at the moment. And for us, a very customary pattern at the moment, it was formed by our moms and our grandmas that were growing in the times when hunger was frequent, so they were trying to convince us that it makes sense to eat soup together with bread, for sure, and we should eat not only soup for lunch, but it should go together with the main course, with gravy, with spaghetti. And if you did not eat any meat for lunch, it's not a good lunch for sure. How can you feel full? And of course it explains why you're so skinny. Of course, this is contrary to what we know today about the healthy diet, because our predecessors used to use a lot more calories than ourselves, and we certainly need less food. We need 2,000 kilocalories for men, and everybody has his own weight, his own activity. As for myself, I don't count calories, I should tell you up front. I don't have a calculator. However, I understand how much I need, and I believe that every individual can read about calories, can do his simple calculation, and understand how many calories he consumes on average, and understand whether this is a disaster or not. So as for my point 1, I should say that you need to watch the number of meals per day, because 2 days ago I interviewed a very popular figure, Yusunori Asumi, a Japanese Nobel Prize winner, who got this prize for studying autophagy. It's a process that is activated if you don't eat for a long time. It turned out that he does not practice starvation, because many believe that he starves, but he does not. But he sticks to 3 meals per day. He has breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And this is something what I have been watching in areas where there are many people that live long. We do need breaks between meals. We're talking about exceptions when, and these exceptions are for people that are trying to lose weight. And certainly there can be exceptions for professional athletes that help them to enhance their results. So they probably should have 5 or 6 meals. However, we would say that standard is to have 3 meals per day. And it is good when you have a 10-hour break between the dinner and breakfast. There were many studies dedicated to this interval, and the interval can be even larger than that. However, for me it would be uncomfortable, although there are certain scientific advantages, because certain processes are activated in the body, self-cleansing processes, immune system has been enhanced, and it is good, unfortunately, but till a certain point. Hello, Victor. Hello, hello. Second point that I try to stick to is to consume less meat, less red meat, first and foremost. As many scientific works prove, red meat contains certain elements that stimulate our metabolism. We are talking about mTOR, signal pathway stimulus, and also you can focus on GAM, etc., etc. Well, what I can add about the meat is the following. First of all, fried meat steaks are the most hazardous. because they have products called aged, and they change the function of all biological membranes in the body, and the proteins that transform the cells into cancer cells start working improperly. So avoid the fried meat because it increases the risk of cancer. So how do you receive the protein? First of all, there are many sources of protein. First of all, it's fish, eggs, dairy products, if they're not very fat and sweet, of course. And there is also plant protein. Think of the beans, nuts. Nuts is a great source of protein. Third point, consume fewer, less salt and sugar. There are lots of studies, and there is a debate nowadays about the amount of salt you should consume. But there is a consensus that if you eat more than 5 or 10 grams of salt per day, you join a risk group when it comes to stroke, because salt increases the excessive pressure on our blood vessels in the brain. We Russians eat 15 grams of salt per day, and also there is a habit, popular habit, to add salt before you even try food, and certainly it's very hazardous because actually it's a self-stimulating process related to the activities of our receptors. The more salty food we eat, the more we want it. It's a vicious circle. The sensitivity of your receptors goes down, and you need to consume saltier and saltier food. But you can get rid of this addiction to salt. You can add some spices, and once you reduce salt, you feel the natural taste of products, and it's wonderful. As for sugar, sugar right now is #1 enemy of health. Why? So because our predecessors certainly didn't eat as much sugar as we do nowadays. I always give the quotation from the old times that at honey holiday, even poor people could try honey, so sweets were not so available. And here everywhere we have the snacks, we have sweet things everywhere. It is quite terrible. And I can tell you that yesterday during our shooting day I looked at Snickers pack, and there you can see that half of the mass of the body of the chocolate bar accounts for sugar, and that's terrible. That causes metabolic syndrome. And soft drinks. Soft drinks is another bad enemy of ours because we do not notice how much sugar we consume in one package of juice we buy in the store. So in each glass there is 3 or 4 spoons of sugar, and we even do not notice that. So we are not that vigilant, and we certainly overconsume sugar. The norm standards that is recommended by WHO for man, the norm is 35 grams per day, and a Snickers bar contains already 25 grams. And of course, sugar is contained in many products, so the less you consume sugar, the better is for us. My first principle is eat more fruit and vegetables, and eat more vegetables and then fruit, although both are important. Vegetables are good because they have lots of fibers, and they are very important for our intestinal bacteria, and they have an impact on our health. But also vegetables allow you to consume less food, because if you initiate the habit of offering fresh vegetables with each meal, for each meal, and instead of having a plate of bread, you offer a plate of vegetables. And by the way, yesterday I came back from Azerbaijan and I brought nuts, cucumbers and tomatoes from Baku, and it was fantastic. The vegetables were very delicious. So sweet pepper, celery, carrots, everything. These products are very healthy. They're also very fulfilling for the stomach. And as a result, you will eat bad calories less. Additionally, I can say that I try to spend money that I save on multivitamins. I spend them on berries. Berries are expensive, but they're so good for you. Thanks to globalization, we have berries, blueberries, available everywhere. Yesterday I bought strawberries. I paid 150 rubles for 100 grams. Of course, it's very expensive, but it smells good, and it has so many good vitamins and elements. And does it contain nitrates? No. We have checked that many times, and this is a question that is asked very often. How would you eat more fruit and vegetables if there are so many nitrates and pesticides? A large number of budget of our program is spent on tests, and we test vegetables and fruits, and we find nitrates very, very rarely. So yes, sometimes the norm of nitrate content is exceeded, however, not drastically. And first of all, you consume different vegetables, and the risk of accumulating the dosage of nitrates in your body is very low. But nitrates in combination with vitamin C from greens and vegetables and oil, it transforms in neutral fatty acids that as a result reduce the pressure, the blood pressure. So it also makes sense not to peel the skin, but eat the vegetables and fruit together with the skin. Yes, there is some wax on apples and people are afraid of it, but if you wash fruit and vegetables with warm water, it's okay. And my point 5 is larger variety, and I can tell you that every product has its benefit, and we need to learn from the Japanese, who, it was calculated once, who eat over 100 different kinds of vegetables, because seaweed has certain benefits, liver has some benefits for health, and we need the source of long-chain carbohydrates. And even good pasta and macaroni certainly also is very good for your body. It's not harmful. And of course you need sometimes to eat some products that are no good for your health, so that you would not feel deprived, like that you see everybody eats what they want and you feel bad. And I can tell you that I eat pretty much everything from time to time, and once I eat these products I enjoy them even more. Well, during the shooting period for our technical team is provided with so-called shooting food, and they also provide us with some salami, and once every 2-3 months I eat a little bit of this sausage, and I really love it. And there is no harm whatsoever, no harm for health. As for the cheat meal day, when once a week you should indulge yourself in anything you want, well, I don't know. I think it's self-deception. If you feel like eating it, you can eat it. Another thing is that based on the knowledge I received, I transformed my knowledge, and as for harmful products, I do not look at them as tasty products. And I talked to one vegetarian in New York, and he told me I pass hot dog booth, and for me it's not smell of food, it is something else. It's like flowers. I feel the smell of flowers, but I don't want to eat them, right? So I'm not that far yet, but I feel pretty much the same way. For me, large salad would be far more appealing com compared to doctor's sausage or any fat, sweet food. By the way, at 3:15, I'm going to give a detailed presentation, and I'm going to cook one of my favorite dishes. So join me at 3:15. I promise to give the floor to Elena. So we are going to share our ideas, and then we will move on to Q&A session. All right, Elena, as far as I understand, you are sticking to the same principles and you implement them in your practice. Yes, good day to you. Can I have a clicker, please? And a hand microphone. Thank you very much. Thank you. Since today we are talking about healthy habits, Yaroslav and Sergey already talked about it. Yaroslav is a doctor, Sergey is a blogger. Oh, by the way, I am a doctor by profession, but I'm not a practitioner. Well, you are a practitioner in a way, because you have your scientific platform and you analyze everything, you do your researches. It's very important. Unlike my colleagues, I'm not a doctor. My son is going to turn 31 years old today. I practice wellness, I do sports, and I also can eat any products, and I do not refrain from any products, but at the same time I do not pay attention to calories. For me, it's far more important what I eat. As for the habits, we can talk about many healthy and good things. However, it's very important to make them your habit. For instance, as I wake up at 7 o'clock, I drink water, and it has temperature 40 to 45 degrees. This is how my mornings start. I'm not a doctor, but I understand that it is very important to spur your life processes. I'm coffee addict, but I drink coffee only in the morning. For me, it is something helpful to wake up. As for my other healthy habits, I train a lot. I used to have power training. I really love weight training, but I shifted from them. Now I practice Pilates, stretching, anything what makes my muscles stronger, and swimming, holistic swimming. So I learned to breathe properly, and certainly that helps me to get healthier. Of course, you can stick to any diets, but one thing when you are 10, and you should have one type of diet when you are 20, 30, 40, or 50 years old, you have entirely different needs, because our hormone levels change, our demands are different, and the older we are, the less mobile we are. And here it is very important to provide time for walking. You need to walk, not run at a certain age. It's very important, because talking about Japanese longevity, we can say that they walk a lot. For them, it is they also have a cult of water. We have not talked about the water a lot. No, this is pseudoscience. Well, here we have a discussion to find out what is beneficial and what is a habit. The habit is instilled in 21 days, but certainly motivation here matters. It all depends on how you want to see your senior age. It doesn't matter how old you are. It matters how you feel at certain age. And if you enjoy life, it doesn't matter how old you are. And health is your asset. So invest into it, and it certainly will impact your life. So let me show you my slides. Perhaps there will be criticized by my colleagues, but I'm a wellness adept, and this is my lifestyle from the morning to the evening. So as we understood, healthy diet is healthy body today, and one of the most important investments in your future. And I see that we have an adult audience, but if we have some 18-year-olds here, it makes sense to start investing today. It's never late to start, and we are what we eat. Everything what we eat is certainly important, but it is very important to take care of yourself. Look at the package, read the ingredients. It's very important. Yaroslav, Sergey, and Victor are people that give lots of publications, and if you do not understand information about ingredients, you can address a question to them, because very often we see beautiful packages that say eco, bio, organic, but look at the ingredients.
And everything that we eat, I heard that food can be washed. The nitrates as cholesterol are not bad. It's important how our body is coping. I mean the good cholesterol. If our body cannot cope with that, the nitrates are no evil, because they do exist. We should not be afraid of them. And also, we are looking at bad and good, and life and dead food, and live food with Sergey Malazyomov. I want to be more positive and no associated with the scandalizing shows that are lots of them. Based on psychology, people respond to negative things. As soon as you feel something negative, you pay more attention and you think how it can be combined with me, how it is related to me. As I'm a practitioner, I made an ABC of the right nutrition. I trust my colleagues. I do not have scientific knowledge, a variety, balance. So, of course, proteins, carbohydrates, less carbohydrates, they are not so bad. When there are too many of carbohydrates, we are suffering. Carbs is what we are talking about. When I just started to do exercise, I didn't understand what was protein or fat. I just told my trainer, tell me, what should I eat? Porridge in the morning and chicken breast for lunch, and in the evening, so should I eat just a salad? And are there people who do not understand what are proteins, carbs and fats? You all understand. I started at when I was 24, next year I will be 50, so I had lots of relation. And not to use processed food with preservatives. Yes, sausage. Sometimes you can eat sausage or sausages and Olivier salad and smoked meat. And of course, if we eat too much, it can impact our health. Of course, sometimes you can eat a little bit. It's about plaques and everything in our arteries, which can lead to irreversible consequences. I don't know what time you wake up. Maybe my colleagues will argue with me whether it should be so early. Maybe biological clock is individual thing. But for me, my breakfast 7-8. That's when I wake up. So then we are not discussing water. Let us discuss water. At least 30 milliliters per 1 kilogram of body weight. And also kidney stones or sands or microlides in kidneys, that would be correct to drink as much as provides you for urination of 2 liters. and that's the recommendation for healthy people. Well, there are no strict limitations. Those who tend to have this stone disease, and alkaline water for these people may be better than other types. As for healthy people, I met lots of meta-studies summarizing other scientific works, and the general conclusion is you need to drink as much as your body wants, and there are no any conclusions for any type or group of diseases. It's not helping if you drink more than 2 liters of water, and there is harm as well, because in the evening people understand they did not get enough, and then they start to enhance their drinking of water. Of course, all the night they spend going to toilet, and healthy sleep is important. And there are water coma cases when people overdrink, and also water intoxication is an important phenomenon. And I don't really pay attention to how much I drink. I drink as much as I can and when I want. And the proper use of water, if you cannot survive till lunch, you need to just drink 1 glass of water. It will help you with your nutrition if you stick to 3 meals a day. And alkaline water after sleep. No, I'm very hungry in the morning when I get up, because I don't have dinner late, and I don't have to just start my engine, because I am okay in the morning. I wake up at 6:40, and then I have lunch, and then alkaline drink is for kidney stones. That's such a recommendation, and for healthy people that's not important, and they are just selling I don't know, tourmaline water, energized water charge, well, you know, all of this. And I have just a regular standard filter at home. I have this, and we all drink this. And my children, if they are thirsty, they don't ask for a juice, they just drink pure water. I think that's a very good food habit. Yes, of course. We have a discussion, and if you do not answer all of these questions, so you will ask them later on. As for fermented products, fermented vegetables, what can you say? I would like to speak about carbs. I really like that topic. Fast carbs, in fact, can damage you. There is consensus about that. And glycemic index, or glycemic load, is important. In terms of science, I looked at all of the recommendations. Low carbs, those that you get from whole grain, and we rarely have burgu, amaranth, unprocessed grain, and red rice, polba. And also there is pasta from whole grain cereals. These carbs, they improve your health and decrease all of the risks, heart disease and cancer. And I have a slide. What about well, as for fermented products, I have my own opinion. In the database of biomedical publications. There are lots, more and more publications about fermented vegetables, the fermented dairy products. What else do we have? Miso soup. So there are lots of biological active substances. That's a good addition to your diet, and it prolongs your youth if it is combined with good nutrition using my 5 principles. But as for fermented vegetables, we have a problem, and there is a lot of salt usually in Russia if we're talking about cabbage, fermented cabbage. But I'm not quite sure that there are more advantages compared to disadvantages, especially if we are talking about an elderly person who has issues with hypertension. I would be very careful. I have an app which is called Handmade Food, where chefs and doctors, they give the recommendations for the right fermentation. About food, I went to Dr. Mari's clinic, and they taught me how to chew food properly. I don't know how properly you chew your food and how important it is. And our Joe, for ours, if you look at our teeth, we can eat all types of foods. Vegetables and fruit and fish and even meat. Just meat not so often, because we should not eat more than twice a week red meat. Now I'm use other products. I use seafood, avocado and fish and chicken. What gives magic to us women, it's omega-3 products. I heard to exclude gluten products. Gluten doesn't have anything dangerous. You need to be fanatic to exclude all of gluten products. No, Lena, wait. Excluding gluten products, that's a food advice, which, well, it may seem very anti-scientific, and very often this advice works due to the simple reason, if we eat less white bread, that's good for your health. That's kind of a good consequences. And people who tell them, I will limit gluten, they start really to eat a less bad food, which is bad for our health. We need to fight against the myth, but we need to accept that there is some share of truth in it. So this is about protein. We cannot go into details here, and I can send a presentation if you like it as a navigation. So everybody can see everything, right? So fish, red and white, turkey, and here. So Victor, shall we speak about food? What kind of food is it? No, come back. Being a cardiologist, I can confirm that in general population, the cardiologist may be willing to do that. Limitation of cholesterol does not limit and decrease the rate of death from heart stroke. But in Russia we have top risk population, because that's why this recommendation about cholesterol is not for everybody. And some people have plaques, and they have dangerous plaques, and in this situation fat may be dangerous, and except for one situation. And there are good and bad foods. Yes, you can afford sometimes to eat unhealthy, but like a good and bad and awful, there are different things. Some things you should avoid always. Products that contain trans fats. It should not confuse that with palm oil. These are the fats which originate from processing, and there they break the structure of the molecules. They also can be cancerogenic, and they are part of good lipoproteins, and this good cholesterol becomes bad cholesterol, and you cannot understand this. As for foods which contain hydrogenized oil, they are almost not in stores because new regulations were introduced. Now the manufacturers, they stick it from hydrogenization. They use other technologies for fats. And if you see in a product margarine, before 2019 we were saying that was very bad, but now we say that's healthy and the ingredients change, and now it's less bad fats, which may seem strange. Yes, trans fats. In the middle there is a slide. Do not use unfat dairy product. I read many guidelines, national guidelines, and dairy fat is the worst, one of the worst types of fats. And if we decrease its amount, we decrease calories, and that's good for our arteries. And usually they add some sugar. So if we consume DFAT, so doesn't make sense if we use dairy product. For me, that's about marketing. Yesterday, I was looking at the biggest studies, what was good, what was bad. And there, for dairy products, it turned out that there are no reliable studies to include over 100,000 people. And there, dairy products are neither healthy nor unhealthy. And yogurt with the low fat can be beneficial. That was the most recent publication I've seen. So, talking about fats. Like we've mentioned today, we should focus on good fats and cholesterol. And let us try to discuss it. We were talking about fish, avocado. I believe that's a super food. Not often, but you should use it. As for oils, olive oil, linen oil, rapeseed oil, I drink it with a spoon. I take a spoonful of olive oil. So I spoke a lot about oils, that's rapeseed oil, but I drink a teaspoonful of olive oil. But many people go further and they mix it with lemon, and they take it with not a teaspoon, and they also place the videos saying that it can detox your liver and cleanse. Our liver does not require cleansing, by the way. And secondly, because liver is living itself, and a GIT patient who had severe hepatitis, because he moved to that cleansing, he was drinking big amounts of different oils, mixing it with lemon juice. He was cleansing intestine, and he got to hospital with severe hepatitis. Yaroslav, say the most important thing. So this detoxification does not increase. There are no these residues from medical point of view. It does not exist. All of the byproducts, there are no waste products, and they do not tend to be accumulated in the body. We have such a useful discussion that during the discussion, me, no doubt, I am taking some advice that's important for me. I will have lots of learnings, and then you come up with the answers to the questions that you wanted to ask. As for cholesterol, we all understood everything, that it's not fat, that it's useful and necessary for human body to synthesize hormones. Well, carbs. Dear colleagues, please pay attention to this slide. And we've discussed that today. If it's important for you, take notes, and we will continue. I have 12 slides. I just want to make it quicker. Yes, we need to give time to Victor. I already asked Victor, and time for Q&A. We have time till 1:15. Non-gluten cereals and gluten. So, buckwheat, wild rice, what we love, and quinoa, and gluten, which is not so scary, but nevertheless that's gluten. Okay, and fiber. We are moving towards dinner, so leaves of salad, it's good. When you have dinner at 6 or 7 p.m., you need to eat more green leaves. And we need to help our digestion. And the liver is restoring itself. It needs time, and they need to go to sleep early. Let us speak about sleep. So we had our food at 7, okay, at 9, before 12. It is recommended to go to sleep, and why? Who has answer to this question? Very simple. If you do not sleep enough hours, well, that's very personal, and you feel when you had enough sleep from 6 to 8 hours. And the problem is that talking about obesity, sleep is the condition when the hormone of hunger is not produced. And then ghrelin concentration can increase. And people take alcohol before they go to sleep, and they think they help them to sleep. No, the structure of your sleep is changing, and there is no one glass of wine is enough. And that's not a good thing to do before you go to sleep. As about phases and stages of sleep, we go to sleep before 12, cortisol stress level goes down. And something is produced. And the growth hormone is weekly produced, but still it is. Is it true? What I am aiming at, what are other hormones, good hormones, produced to prolong your longevity, beauty, feel young and healthy. Don't have enough time. No, but now in science there was a revolution. In brain there is a system of similar to lymphatic system of withdrawal of water, and the brain is being cleansed from bad toxins during sleep. No, but that's really a big topic to cover. That's a good topic. Let us speak about that. The number of calories. Do not pay attention to calories. Better pay attention to what you eat. And nutritionists, they make right recommendations. I don't know whether it's scientific or not. And I think that's a false science. Yes, I trust really nutritionists, and the nutritionist who made my diet, yes, I'm enriching myself 1,200 calories. I think that's the right set of food. I'm not hungry. No, no, you may not calculate calories if you eat so much. People will say, I don't know why I got fat, I'm not eating anything. And this is a 37 BMI index woman, and she's uploading an app, and that's a price. When she's mentioning each piece of chocolate, turns out it's 3,000 calories, and when the person is not eating and then it function hits 10,000 calories, it goes back. I think then the standard option, people especially who have obesity, that would be great for them to understand how many calories they eat actually. Yes, that is important. That is what you eat is important. No, how much is of the same importance? Microbiota. So Yaroslav mentioned, and Yelena, you know, the doctors keep on telling, say a microbiome, not microflora, or microbiota, because that's a word, that's a good synonym for an ugly word. Now it's called microbiota. Is it true that GIT tract of a fat person is dramatically different from the GIT system of a thin person? Yes, that's a new science. We see that our bacteria and they are connected with our health. And also, if the fat people use the diet of thin people, so they will get slimmer. But why we are afraid of saying that? And because we are afraid you will go and buy probiotics which contain encapsulated bacteria, because they don't work in between. So it is just protected from new bacteria, and you cannot just add the new bacteria. That's in the future. We are careful when you are talking about this, so that you not waste your time on what's not working, and the future is there. And 2 or 3 years I was taking a video in Boston General Hospitals, and they just called that pool pills, and in Russia these are tablets made of feces. When the microbiota is cleaned of a healthy person, it's given to the patient. And they were studying intestinal disease, something with the inflation. So this is membranous colitis, and also the antibiotic consequence. There is a new infection which has resisted to all ABs, and also it can work for the patients who are dying from pseudomembranous colitis. And the next is just expansion of that idea. The point is that you need to feed your good germs with fiber. Okay, great. Now about breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and now we are pressed for time. I think I will finish that. I had a detailed presentation. Victor also has something to say, and I will go through my presentation. If you are interested, so I will send it over. That's the breakfast, then it's lunch. And then dinner, and that's it. That's the end, dear friends. And I would like to give floor to Victor. Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation. I felt I was like a pupil. I have no medical education, no nutrition education. I've been dealing with that for over 20 years. Started to be in charge of that in Canada, and Canada is more advanced in this in terms of nutrition. I continue that I represent international movement Slow Food. You may have heard about it, but still you saw our works in Russia and Europe. This is interest towards local traditions, foods, recipes, farmers, products, and it appeared some 10 years ago here we started to have farmers festivals, and now it's like a cosmetic expo, and we have it everywhere, and that's the result of slow food.
That paid attention to the importance of preserving biodiversity, what is very helpful to our compatriots that live in remote areas, and the benefits that are provided, because farmers' products are far more useful compared to imported products, even if they are marked as eco or organic. So that is talking about slow food. There is a website called slowfood.com. There is a Russian part there, so you can see what slow food has done for 30 years, and this year we are celebrating the 30th anniversary. And you can find out what we do today. I just would like to talk about 2 points. First and foremost, one of our areas of activities is to fight with product waste. This is the topic that has been raised in Western Europe, and then it covered the entire planet. In our countries there are many chefs that support this idea, but statistics is horrendous. Based on the statistics, 40% of food that we buy is thrown away. We do not eat it, we do not process it, we just throw it away. America is the leader, and you know, I also was very surprised, shocked with this figure. 40% of wasted food is enough to feed all people worldwide. And another thing that we are in charge of is to make sure that we eat less meat. This is something what we have already talked about, and I'm not going to dwell on it. But I would like to share with you a few words about what we are discussing. Of course, people have always wanted to live long, and there were many ways you could wear special bracelets, whatever, or in the ancient times. But now we have a huge number of medicines, many more are launched every year. So finally, people understand what Hippocrates talked about long time about, and what Elena voiced today. We are what we eat. So food is the basis for your health. So people pay more attention to recommendations. Now diets are a fad, and not long time ago people said that red meat was extremely useful. Well, it was recommended for anemia, it is still recommended. I am not talking about medical indications. I'm talking about what was published in popular magazines. Are you talking about 1960s? Are you talking about 1960s? No. I'm talking about what was published 5 or 7 years ago. Butter was considered a bad product because of high level of cholesterol. Well, nevertheless, I can tell you, diet as a fashion is a changing thing, is a changing story. And recommendations that you hear today may change in a few years, or they can be proved wrong due to results of the research that will be carried out in several years. So what would one do? I would like to ask our audience, I'd like to address it to women rather than men. Who of you reads fashion magazines like Cosmopolitan? Nobody? My goodness. But some are laughing. Well, I'm not talking about diet recommendations, but they have a section and that talks about fashion trends that you wear, trousers, shoes, and something else today. Following that, looking at these recommendations, you go to the store, you buy these things, and you put them on. Yes or no? Probably not, because you know that red color would not suit you, and you should not wear a narrow skirt, as an example. So here you focus on your body, on your needs, on your preferences. And I travel a lot worldwide. I talk to doctors, I talk to various people, and what I understood that you need to have an intuitive diet. You need to understand what your body needs. Of course, we have some genetic peculiarities. We also have some cuisine traditions here in the location where you live. And I will give you an example about the genetics. For instance, as for herring with potato, I say that, do you feel like tasting it? Yes, because this is part of our genetics. If here we had French audience, they wouldn't understand what I was talking about. It doesn't work with them. It's not their traditional dish. So there are certain preferences. No, absolutely not. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but this is an anti-science. Genetic test will not tell you this. I'm not talking about genetic test. Dear colleague, no, 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 no. This is anti-scientific. Yes, yes, and yes. You can choose who you will listen to, medical professionals or non-medical professionals. You know, I did not interrupt my colleagues on purpose to bring some drama to our talk, and allow me to finish, all right? Well, climate, what impact may climate have? In Russia, fresh vegetables and fruit were available traditionally for 3 or 4 months. Then people would eat marinated products, dry products. Right now we are opting for different diet habits. Now we have more fresh fruit and vegetables. We used to have fresh fruit imported from other countries. Now they are grown here in greenhouses. So basically, we can switch to consuming fresh and fruit, veg and vegetables around. But allow me to remind you that on average we lived around 70 years compared to 30 years of life expectancy we used to have in early 19th century or 20th century. Yes, Americans live even longer, I should tell you. Well, talking about habits, our habits are instilled by our family. Our grandma would say, eat another cutlet or meat patty. And again, talking about intuitive diet, you need to analyze your habits and do or undo them. And you need to understand whether they are in line with modern lifestyle. You probably remember that in Russia in 1913, 18% of population lived in the country and worked in the field. What does it mean? It would mean that you need to consume lots of calories that you use as you have physical work. As you do physical work, you need to have additional body mass. This is what your diet was based on. And this was the diet that is passed on by your grannies. And you need to understand that if we have a sedentary lifestyle, this diet should not work. It cannot work. So should you approach diet experts or do, and I'm not talking about blood tests or anything, I'm just talking about other tests. Absolutely, because you have unique needs, and you cannot take recommendations of even most renowned specialists. And of course, you have to base on your own needs, and you need to take into consideration on such aspects as age, genetics, diseases you may have at the moment, etc., etc. And I also probably should say what I eat. I'm 64, and my diet habits changed with age. And today, I understood for myself that I cannot eat too much protein, so I have come up with a certain idea. I am vegan every second day. Every second day. If you do it for a while, you develop a habit. Your body will develop a different need. So you cannot do it every day, but for me it's very comfortable to be a vegan every other day. So one day I have my traditional diet. I eat soup, salad, porridge, etc., or protein. As for the second day, I eat same thing, but I do not consume any animal protein. It's a vegan diet, and it is possible. Well, this is it, what I wanted to share with you. I'm very happy to be here, and was happy to provide some contribution or even bring some drama to this talk. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now we have time for questions. 3 questions, all right? 3 questions, and we will provide brief answers. Please pass the mics. We'll have only 3 minutes, so 1 minute per answer. Okay, here I am. So we are used to having 3 dishes per meal. You do not say anything about soups. You don't really have to eat soups. There are lots of world cuisines where soup is not present. French cuisine have very few soups. We are eating soups because we live in cold climates and we need warm dishes to warm up. It is only our tradition, but you don't really need to eat soups. We have very little time. I'm here with a microphone. Please raise your hand. So I would like to address my message to Yaroslav and Sergey, and I totally disagree with you about your standpoint about vitamins and nutrients. You as a doctor know that studies from 1983 say that carrot as of today has 30 times less nutrients. No, absolutely not. No, I wouldn't agree with you, and I said that immediately. Well, anyway, there are companies that carry out clinical studies. They have held them for 10 years, and they cover a large cohort of people, 500 and more, and they say it's very individual. Of course, for some it's bad to consume vitamin D or protein. I'm just telling you, we are very short of time. We are very short of time. We would like to pass the microphone to people who have questions. I'm telling you that large studies showed that there is no benefit whatsoever for taking food supplements. That is my question to you. No, and no again. Hello, thank you very much for the lecture. My name is Leah, and I'm very interested about diets and food. I would like to ask you, is it all right to consume regularly canned food, canned fish or caviar, or maybe some processed vegetables, whatever? And is it all right to use them to cook soups? And I heard that you gain weight from honey. It's a good product, but is it safe, and is it detrimental for your weight? And how about rice and macaronis? Thank you very much. As for metal cans, they're not harmful. Honey is the same sugar, so you need to limit the quantity you consume. And so canned food is not harmful. However, many of them contain lots of salt, and all diet specialists say that in order to preserve this food for a long time, they add salt. I'm sorry, we are out of food. Okay, a question to the organizers. I may have a question to organizers. May we wrap up the session and leave those who are interested in questions, because the next session will start at 1:45. Can we stay here 10 extra minutes in order to let people go? So we would like to thank everyone for joining us, and those who are interested in extra answers for extra questions can stay with us. Thanks.
То есть нельзя, в общем,